race card enabled racism, or are we being hypersensitive? Is the question. Ghana's president urges African countries to stop begging from the West. Is this realistic? So do join us, plus navigating your way through the financial crisis that we're facing right now, which Emmanuel will be our guest to help us understand, to help us save. I don't know about you, but I like saving. And we're facing some torrentious times right about now. Okay, and saving is a must, absolutely must, particularly seeing as we're just about to celebrate Christmas and the gifts you have to buy for friends and loved ones and family and so on and so forth. So, some people might be down a little bit on the funds, and maybe, you might get a few tips here and there on how to avoid, getting yourself into debt or how to come out of debt. So either way, make sure you tune in this evening. It's Talk Africa tonight at 7 p.m. on Sky Channel 181, also on GN Radio. You can also download the My Channel 7 app, which is on the App Store or the Google Play Store, right? Download the app and you can watch the show live. Alternatively, you can listen or watch the show on Channel 7, not GN Radio. Channel 7 website, www.mychannel7.com. You can watch the program on there. You can watch it live. We've got some fantastic guests coming in this evening. I beg your pardon, it's www.mychannel7.co.uk. Okay? www.mychannel7tv, actually. www.mychannel7tv.co.uk. You can watch the program live on there. Some fantastic guests who will be coming on the show tonight. Really excited about tonight's program. Well, I'm always excited about, the programs, but tonight it seems special. So we have Emmanuel Asuko, Julius Baluto, Abena Sewa, and Mr. Kofi Ali. Kofi Ali, yes, will be joining us live and colored. So if you don't know who or what or how Kofi Ali looks like, make sure you tune in this evening to find out. Good morning to you, Kofi. Good morning to Mr. Yosin. Good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning to you, Edith. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is a few days to Christmas. 4 days to Christmas. Does it feel like Christmas? If you don't, I hope this tune helps you get in the mood for Christmas.
The very next day, you gave it away.
Okay. Let's begin, shall we? Shall we begin? Okay, my producer is telling me that my producer likes this tune so much. I don't know why.
It's day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me Bayana and a partridge in a pear tree. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me Fantani Katia, Bayana and a partridge in a pear tree. Ene partridge in a pear tree. Bronya.
Your body sharp for debate. I started beat about the bush till date. To think about the way you scatter the place. I want to talk about the smile on your face. This your love now I'm your man. FDA don't stamp on them. Won't you show me how you move? Cause I've been waiting for a minute to be your boo. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? Don't a man though, he go like to. Try me, you know I'm ready. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already?
Right, let's proceed with the show. Mind you, we are streaming live on Facebook, so if you want to head over to our Facebook page, you can do so and join the conversation on our Facebook page as well. Please, if you're listening, make sure you share this link and get people to get involved. And let's reach out to the wider public. So let's begin with the newspaper headlines here, and we begin with the Metro. You'd better watch out. This is the headlines by the Metro. Don't get hurt or ill. Of course, this is implication. This is leading to the strike by the paramedics. So you better watch out. Headlines to Metro as it leads with a warning from Health Minister Will Queen's and a strike by ambulance workers on Wednesday. The paper reports that Mr. Queens encouraged people to avoid risky activity, such as contact sports or running, if it is icy. It comes as 750 troops try to fill the gap left by 10,000 emergency workers, the Metro says. Now, I know yesterday, right? Sadly, a family member was really, really ill and had to call for the paramedics. And the phone call was made in the afternoon. Not in the afternoon, because I received the notification whilst I was on air. All right, so this was around 9:30 that they were planning to go to the hospital. And, the family member had to wait for the paramedics. And, this family member is an elderly person. By the time the ambulance came, it was midnight. So they called the paramedics around, I think it was in the afternoon, I was told. Did not get to go to the hospital nearly midnight. Why am I saying this? Because, the strike by the paramedics, the nurses, is real. It's real. And people are feeling the ramifications of the actions of the nurses and the paramedics. Now, I'm in no way suggesting or trying to say that I'm against the industrial action. Absolutely not. On the contrary, rather, I support these actions. But I know that at the end of the day, it's the patients who will suffer. Health bosses cannot guarantee patient safety in ambulance strike, says the Financial Times. The Financial Times leads with a warning from health chiefs who say they cannot guarantee patient safety during strike. It also notes talks on Tuesday between Health Secretary Steve Barclay and ambulance union bosses to discuss cover for 999 calls during the strike, which broke down with warnings people could die as a result of the dispute. But the boss of Unison Union, Christina McAney, told the paper it was ministers putting people's life at risk by refusing to negotiate a proper pay rise. For the people that were not have not been following this program for, I don't know, possibly this week, I've not had the opportunity to listen to my interview. I think, seeing as the strike is still ongoing, perhaps it might be ideal to once again just play my interview that I did with the unions who were protesting, against the government's refusal to meet their demands in the pay rise. Okay, so we'll take a quick listen. Surely, simply because a lot of the newspaper headlines are actually leading with the same story. This is to do with the strike. So whilst many of us are preparing for Christmas, looking at when we're going to buy our turkey, I know some people have already purchased their turkey. Whilst many of us are waiting, real life is happening. Real life is happening. The Daily Mail. How will they live with themselves if people die today? Is the Daily Mail. Now you can see the angle. I don't need to tell you, it doesn't take a genius to work this out. Who the Daily Mail are supporting. They're on the side of the government. The Daily Mail ask, how would they live with themselves if people die today? In the comment, the paper writes that all those involved in the strike need to take a long, hard look and ask if it can be justified. Preposterous, isn't it? Preposterous. It's just ridiculous how you can just try to sway the public or turn the public against the nurses and the unions. The Guardian, NHS bosses urge PM to intervene to avoid war of attrition on strikes. Yesterday I was asking the question, where is Mr. Rishi Sunak? Where is he? The Times, avoid taking risks, public told as paramedics strike. The Daily Telegraph, unions have made conscious choice to inflict harm on patients, says Barclay. So here we go. So, you have the health secretary blaming the unions for the nurses and paramedics going on strike, but not the fact that they failed or they don't want to sit down with the unions to find a resolution. I mean, they want a pay rise. If you can't give them the pay rise, what can you give? It's all about negotiations, isn't it? The Sun, don't use your car, don't go running, don't play sport, don't get drunk, don't have fun, in capital letters. All right, of course, this is reporting on, getting injury. Trying to blame the unions for crippling the NHS. The Daily Star, wrap yourself in cotton wool. Cotton wool balls cover the Daily Star as it suggests people should pretty much stay at home to survive the ambulance strike. Offering an alternative, it says, we could just give the NHS staff a well-deserved pay rise. Absolutely. Now, this is something that, I'm in favor of. Okay. Now, I'm not anti-establishment or whatsoever, but I think particularly when it comes to the NHS, they've done fantastic, and I think they deserve it. The Daily Express, Royal fail, Xmas post disaster. Xmas post disaster headlines the Daily Express as it claims 6 in 10 letters have still not been delivered after almost 2 weeks. It says the investigation showed just one of 120 first-class letters posted by the paper across England arrived at its destination the next working day. It comes as Royal Mail workers strike continues later this week. And finally, as nurses and 999 crews fight to earn enough to pay their bills, PPE scandal peer Michelle Moan is on luxury break at £6,000 a night hotel in the Alps. Oh, sickening, they say. Wow. Wow. And this has been some of the argument, isn't it? Especially when I spoke to the lady at the House of Lords representing the Green Party, Baroness Jenny Jones. She spoke about the PPE scandal. I think it's only right for us to play this clip again, the interview that I did with the protesters, and as the strike is still ongoing.
What we're asking for is an inflation-busting pay rise. This is after years and years of sub-inflation pay rises and pay freezes and 1% pay increases for NHS workers. And we can't afford it. We can afford it because a 10% pay increase for NHS workers, or a 10% increase in the pay pot for NHS workers, would only cost the Treasury £0.66 billion because of the receipts the government would get in tax receipts, and also because NHS workers put the money back into community, which improves our economic activity in all of our communities. So we believe it is worthwhile, and NHS workers and other public sector workers deserve a decent pay rise and shouldn't have to pay for a cost of living crisis.
What about the timing of these industrial actions and the implication on patients and the vulnerable?
Well, that's surely of the government's making, because we've said time and time again as trade unions that we're willing to sit down and speak with the minister, the health secretary, and speak to them meaningfully about pay, but the health secretary refuses to speak to trade unions and their representatives and our workers about pay. So these strikes could be called off any time as long as there was willingness to negotiate with workers' representatives and trade unions, like they've done in Scotland, for example, where they have come to an agreement regarding pay.
Now, you've just spoken about Scotland, but if you compare what the nurses in Scotland agree to that of what the nurses are asking, demanding from the government here, there's a difference, isn't there? In the end, the nurses in Scotland agree to 5% increase, whereas the nurses here are demanding 19%.
Well, that's part of a negotiation, isn't it? If we sit down and we have the negotiations, you've got to look at what the details are of that Scottish Deal, which was just more than pay. There was lots of other elements to that, like looking at people's working hours, looking at reviewing the grading and banding system in the NHS, and looking at welfare and well-being facilities. So there's lots to talk about, but they've got to a meaningful agreement. That's why pay in Scotland for NHS workers is higher than what it is in England.
Earlier you mentioned that you met the Health Secretary, Steve Barclay. What was the mood like when you had a meeting with him?
It was a congenial, cordial meeting. We exchanged our views as trade unions with Mr. Barclay, and he told us what his priorities are. But we didn't talk about the main issue, I'm afraid, which is what the government were going to do to address NHS pay now for NHS workers in the midst of the 133,000 vacancies, and also lots of NHS workers using food banks and suffering because of the cost of living crisis. Unfortunately, we didn't get down to the main issue really, but we are willing to talk to him and the other Department of Health officials and people in NHS England and NHS employers to talk about pay. It doesn't have to be exclusively the minister, but he has to sanction those discussions.
And of course, in the midst of all of this, it is the patients who suffer. What would you say to the vulnerables and the patients who feel the repercussions of this industrial action?
Well, Unite aren't taking industrial action today. Unite proposed to take industrial action on Wednesday the 21st of December for our ambulance services in the North East, North West and West Midlands. Obviously, we regret any disruption that is caused for patients, and we don't want that to happen, but on the other hand we are putting in plans in place that the people who are going to be most in need will be looked after. So we hope there will be enough facilities and resources for people to be looked after who really need it. So we regret any distress that does occur, or any disruption that does occur, but we hope there will be measures in place to actually sustain those services.
Clearly the government is not budging and the union not budging, so what would you deem as acceptable to be able to bring about some resolution to this industrial action?
Well, we've got to get around the table and talk about that, and that's not something that we can go into now. We can't conduct negotiations on the broadcast media, but we just want to have those talks. That's our main priority, to have those talks now, so we can get into a place where we can come up with an acceptable solution for NHS workers regarding their pay for this year, and to address the needs of the NHS. Because if we don't have proper pay for NHS workers, we don't have the staff, and without the staff, we don't have the service that patients and the public need.
And finally, we all know the economic challenges that we're all facing, and which the government has said it has made it difficult for them to meet your demands.
It's a difficulty of the government's own making. We all saw the budget, the autumn budget, back in September, and they've not over the last 12 years invested in public services, so we've had the resilience to cope with the pandemic, for example. So these are chickens coming home to roost after 12 years of Conservative government. And also, working people shouldn't have to pay for this crisis. If you look at the Sunday Times Rich List, which came out in April, their wealth increased by over 10% in one single year. There's more billionaires than ever before in this country. So the media, the government and others trying to blame working people just trying to get a fair pay increase for the economic woes of the country is indeed misrepresenting what's actually going on. There's enough in this economy for everyone, so we can all suffer. And trying to say that NHS workers going on strike is helping Vladimir Putin is just ridiculous, really. I don't know where they're coming from. It's actually people like these workers on strike today, like our members who will be going on strike next week, that have actually been the bulwark against Vladimir Putin, and actually supporting Ukrainians and supporting all sorts of people who are trying to make sure there's a free Ukraine. So I don't know where the government's coming from, but they're really having a low blow at working people here.
Do you think the nurses are justified to take this industrial action?
I think they have a just cause, and this government has absolutely trashed the economy. It's trashed the NHS, it's trashed our social services, and it's time that somebody stood up and said, we've had enough. And I support the rail strikes as well. Listen, there's never a good time to strike, of course there isn't, but I think what the Royal College of Nursing and these nurses felt was enough is enough, and at some point you just have to say, we're not taking any more. And we've got the Houses of Parliament in the background, and let's face it, the government is making it out to be the nurses' fault that Putin is winning the war, and all that is absolute garbage. They are blaming everybody but themselves.
And what do you make of the government's position on not being able to afford what the nurses are demanding?
I think that's complete nonsense. Of course they can afford it. The government can print money. It is not about an economic crisis, although if there is one, then it's clearly the government's fault for tanking the economy and doing such stupid things and losing billions of our pounds on the stock market, and to their friends, of course, with all the PPE scandals. So I would say there is always a good time for a pay rise for nurses who actually keep us well and keep us, engaged in society.
Government and Stephen Barclay and Rishi Sunak about pay and making sure that we save our NHS. This isn't just about pay, this is about saving our entire NHS. It's absolutely unbelievable.
For debate, I started beat about the bush till date. To think about the way you scatter the place. I want to talk about the smile on your face. This your love now and your ma. FDA don't stamp on them. Won't you show me how you move? Cause I've been waiting for a minute to be your boo. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? What a man do.
Yeah, so wow. That was interesting, wasn't it? The views on social media keeps going up. So the voices you heard, the first guy, his name is Colenso Jarrett Thorpe. He's the national officer for Unite the Union. And then later on the interview, the other voice that you heard was Baroness Jenny Jones, who's a peer at the House of Lords for the Green Party. Interesting indeed. The strikes continue. I'm still asking, where is Mr. Rishi Sunak? A simple question. Where is he? Where is he hiding? And the government's position, like I said the other day, as if burying the head in the sand and just hoping or dreaming or thinking that this would just disappear. I mean, when you've got the likes of the Daily Mail, doing the government's bidding, the government will feel every right to hide behind the desk and just think that by, some miraculous way, this would just disappear. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I said yesterday when I went to interview the protesters, every car, and this was by Westminster Bridge, right in front of St. Thomas's Hospital, every car that drove by, were tooting their horns in support of the protesters. And I think in society, when it comes to pay rise, particularly after 12 years, of course, you talk about teachers, and of course, other sectors may also feel as though they need a pay rise. But I think the NHS is a special case because these guys work ridiculous, put in huge shifts of hours. Let's not forget, the fact that many of our doctors have always also left the field as a result of Brexit is a factor. So the NHS really, it's been said by many experts that is on the brink. And these workers, they deserve the pay. It's unfortunate that in the midst of all of this, it is the patients who suffer. As I said, a family member, an elderly person, went to the hospital yesterday, and from making a phone call in the afternoon, the ambulance did not arrive till nearly midnight. So you can see what is happening. Lives are being impacted seriously. But clearly, this is what Mr. Sunak was elected for, was chosen by the Conservative Party to address issues, tough issues. And unfortunately, when you put your head above the parapet as a leader, you will be scrutinized and you will be challenged, and situations may arise where as a leader or as a government, you take a stand and, you don't budge, you don't move. But however, in this instance, I think the government have completely read this wrong. They try to get the public on their side, which has failed. They're trying to use the right-wing media to propagate the same narrative, which is not penetrating. In the end, they're getting in the troops, the military, to come and fill in the gaps, which is ridiculous, to the point where NHS bosses have said that, listen, you might as well just stay at home. Don't go running, don't play sports, don't do anything, just stay at home. And that's the warning. Stay at home. Even at home, there's a possibility that you might get injured. I tell you this. Now, this is true story. So this was during the time that I was playing, right, football. And we were supposed to go to Germany to play a tournament. Mind you, I wanted to go. I really, really wanted to go. It was the end of the season. This was more or less going to be like a holiday. So we're all happy, all geared up. So I came home on a weekend. We're traveling on Monday. Excuse me. So I came home on Friday, just to see parents and family before I go. On a Saturday night, I was watching television, put my feet up. Then all of a sudden, my knee locked, and it started puffing up. Like it just started swelling up all of a sudden. Some freaky type of injury. I kid you not. Right? So then I had to call my coach and said, this is what's happened. And of course, he was devastated. And then I had to, my brother took me to the ground, to the stadium, to see the physio. And by the time we got there, my knee had ballooned. It was like it had swollen so much that you can actually feel the fluid in around my knee. And after the examination by the physio, my manager comes in and starts shaking his head and said, I'm afraid you cannot travel. And I was so upset. It was freaky. Listen, I don't understand how that happened till today. I was fine. I was okay. I was running up and down the stairs at home. Everything was fine. I just put my foot up just to watch TV. And that's what happened. So even being at home is not safe. Especially the elderly, Some might fall. And God forbid, should that happen, and you try to call the paramedics. Now, only God knows what's going to happen. Only God knows what's going to happen to, somebody that suffers, heart attack or stroke. And with these type of things, time is crucial. I mean, the ambulances on a good day, they take long to get to you anyway, let alone the time that they're on strike. All right, this is GN Radio, the breakfast show with me, John. So we're taking a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our discussion. Don't go anywhere.
For debate, I started beat about the bush till date. To think about the way you scatter the place. I want to talk about the smile on your face. This your love now and your ma. FDA don't stamp on them. Won't you show me how you move? Cause I've been waiting for a minute to be your boo. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? With a man though, you go like to try me, you know I'm ready. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? With a man though, he go like to try me, you know I'm ready. I no go shout, I no go rush, I no go pin it by force. I will sit down when I will talk, I will kneel down when wait your love. Is it because I know the salt, I know the chicken licking your paws? You must be believing in my cause. I will pick you with my love, Maria, And if you've got me, you must know that I've got you, Maria, Just like a tattoo, girl, I'll always have you. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? With a man though, we go like to try me, you know I'm ready. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? With a man though, we go like to try me, you know I'm ready. Nobody shout for debate. I started beat about the bush till date. To think about the way you scatter the place. I want to talk about the smile on your face. This your love now and your ma. FDA don't stamp on them. Won't you show me how you move? Cause I've been waiting for a minute to be your boo. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? With a man though, you go like to try me, you know I'm ready. Close your back though, turn around though. Baby, are you already? With a man though, you go like to try me, you know I'm ready.
You are listening to GN Radio UK.
Oh la la! TVC Bana Sakani Hobium. Xmas in UK, a Bayer Crabbesh. With the one by the wire this Christmas holidays, Monday 26 December. It's a Boxing Day. TVC Bana is pulling up with a legendary Nana Action Punch. Nana Champon with Davison Band. Hey. Time will be 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. DJ on deck, TJTQ, hosted by The Force. Venue, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR97AL. Mr. Day, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR97AL. Ticket available at Eventbrite. For more info, please call +44 77 288 76027 or +44 75 25 24 8643. Sponsors. Don't forget, this is powered by Pay Angel, Africa's payment expert. So, like I said, on the Boxing Day, it's all about a legendary Nana Champon with the Davison Band. Hey, umpewe na upe gang. Yeah, let's meet.
Yo, Ghana for you want English approach my moha. Ya sweedy. Yenye emrenimfo a won akwatare wo emrenimu a poto kasa mu ye kasa a lawyer for entimi niano mo yemfo ye immigration ensem nyina enko dan wo mo Fortwell solicitors emrenimu akuku drofo se watna ha che ombeboa wo ma wonsa kan wo krata na se wedi edonso a eyom kokokra eba ni nipa sitena mu ani adwuma mu nsem bia omudim akotene pa omo mre di mani pa bia na de ni kan wo mu poni se no consultation fee.
Fortwell solicitors always puts our clients' needs first. We specialize in all UK visa applications, detention and deportation cases, student and work points-based work permit applications from both UK and abroad. Fortwell Solicitors also deals with long residence and human rights applications outside the immigration rules. Don't wait till last minute. Fortwell Solicitors is located at
Unit 1, ground floor, Katrina House, 58 Clarendon Road, London, N80DJ. Nearest tube station, Tempark Lane and Wood Green. Overground, Holmesy Station. Buses 41 to Archway and 144 to Maswa Hill. For more info, call 0203 3257 030. Call our 24-hour line on 0754 8701 011. Website www.fortwellsolicitors.com.
Opening hours Monday to Friday 9:30 to 5:30 p.m.
Thursday beyond Young Milton Keynes.
Fortwell Solicitors is regulated by SRA.
Fortwell Solicitors.
Become a successful entrepreneur with Jackie and her professional team. Become a successful entrepreneur. Anase Base. Wami a team of professional teachers of economics, marketing. Ninga omoyebi. So pesa will transform your life from a youth graduate and a school leaver. Nasa pesa ye entrepreneur. Mon contacti base. Entrepreneur no che say obia ebia wa business. Ebia uyeche. But pesa no in a professional way. To say Oprah Winfrey. Anaya papa Kwame Despite. Base betmi ama sa dieno abim. One your experts ewo coaching and a mentoring. And as person will start wa business base for bet show how ubesi expand business and as existing customer base. Base provides support in business plans, step-by-step finance applications and marketing strategies. Base or become a successful entrepreneur also provide entrepreneurship skills through vision and determination. Some per free consultation for a base
073 99 867 417. I repeat 073 99 867 417.
And also one more email address info@becomeasuccess.co.uk. Website www.becomeasuccess.co.uk. Mokohwa mubetimi make bookings for an appointment. Base and I said become a successful entrepreneur. Let's turn your vision into a reality.
Hello and welcome back to GN Radio, the breakfast show with me, Jones. Awuah. I hope you're well. and safe. Right now, let's turn our attentions to what's happening across the continent of Africa to bring you some trending stories. Yesterday, we spoke about this. Excuse me, the ANC, South Africa's historic ruling party, renewed its confidence in Ramaphosa to lead the movement and therefore run the country at a congress in Johannesburg. Let's take a quick listen to this.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has won a second term as leader of the governing African National Congress, overcoming attacks from within his party and an embarrassing scandal involving what he said was the theft of more than $500,000 from his farm. Mr. Ramaphosa's victory, announced during the ANC's national conference Monday, almost assures him a second term as South Africa's president after elections scheduled for 2024. Ramaphosa secured his second term as party leader with 2,476 votes versus the 1,897 for Ziwile Mikizi, the only challenger up for nomination. Over 4,300 votes were cast. The chosen leader of the ANC, the party with the most seats in parliament, has become the nation's president in every election since 1994. While the results were a relief for Ramaphosa, he still confronts a mountain of challenges. Ramaphosa had escaped an impeachment vote in Parliament late last week when the majority ANC rallied around him, forcing its elected representatives to protect the president.
Let's listen to what the economic freedom fighter leader, Julius Malema, said about the impeachment process of Ramaphosa.
Must step down and he must still be impeached. Stepping down does not mean he must not be impeached. And even during the impeachment, he must still be arrested. He committed crime. He committed corruption. So all of that must follow. And then why should it follow? It must even follow more because Ramaphosa is fighting as if he has not done anything wrong. If he was someone who was showing remorse, perhaps some of these things will look the other way and say, no, the guy has seen his mistakes and he has accepted. No, it's not. As the EFF were very happy that the secret ballot is not provided. Nkosazana spoke on TV and said Cyril must go. Lindiwe Sisulu spoke on TV and said Cyril must go. Supra spoke and said Cyril must go. Tomorrow, let them go and raise their hands. They must not become peacetime heroes. They were talking on TV. Let the real truth prevail tomorrow. The ANC, if it votes against the panel's recommendation tomorrow, it will be showing the Constitution a middle finger. It's as simple as that. And the party that has always claimed that it came with the best constitution in the world, the party that is led by a person who claims to have been a drafter of the same constitution. It will be very clear tomorrow that if the decisions do not favor them, they disregard the constitution. And they only love the constitution if the decision favors them. The army has got a responsibility to protect the constitution. If the political leadership is found wanting and is acting against the constitution, they've got the entire responsibility to defend it. They have a responsibility to defend the country. A man went AWOL for 4 days. What more do you want? We were leaderless. And once such vacuum arises, we're going to be led by thugs. We'll just have a gangster who's going to call a press conference at the SABC and say, we're done. I'm in charge now. No work tomorrow. There's nothing wrong with DD. And as a result, just be ready. Tighten your seat belt. It's unavoidable. We are likely to eat beetroots Christmas Day with DD as a president.
the economic freedom fighter. Julius Malema there. He's an interesting figure, isn't he? So he made these comments before the impeachment process commenced. But it looks as if Cyril Ramaphosa has come out unscathed. And he's set to carry on second term as the president of South Africa. All right, let's look at other news. Elsewhere in Nigeria, more than 20 villagers were killed in 2 separate attacks by gunmen in the troubled northern state of Kaduna, in Africa's population giant Nigeria. The death toll from Sunday's violence against the villages in Malagum 1 and Sagwong in Kura district rose to 28 or 37 according to sources. Criminal gangs have been attacking the villages in the northwest and central parts of the country for years, stealing livestock, kidnapping people for ransom, looting food, and burning down homes. IMF approves disbursement of 447.39 million to Kenya. The board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has approved and the release of $447.39 million to Kenya. The fund stated in a statement that efforts towards fiscal consolidation had caused Kenya's public debt to level off, and it added that it had given extra money under an existing facility. In April of last year, the IMF and the East African country agreed to a 38-month financing arrangement under its extended funds facility and extended credit facility. The most recent payment brings the total to 1.65 billion. My goodness. According to the IMF, Kenya will now receive a total of 2.416 billion from present agreement. The increase was agreed upon by both parties last month to cover expenses for external finances due to the drought and difficult global financial condition. It's interesting because on this particular story, then right in the heart of the story, there's a picture of Ghana's president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, with the caption, Ghana President Akufo-Addo urges Africa to stop begging. And this is why we'll be talking about this today. How realistic is this, you know? Telling people to stop begging, and then, we're just reading right now, we're just being told that the IMF has approved $447.39 million. And when it's added to the existing debt, this brings up Kenya's debt to $1.65 billion. Hey, wow, you even shiver when you mention that huge sum of money. Also, a criminal court in Tripoli, in Libya, sentenced 17 people to death by belonging to the jihadist group ISIS and committing deadly violence on his behalf in Libya. In addition to the 17 death sentences, the court sentenced 2 suspects to life in prison and 14 others to various prison terms, according to same source. The nationalities of those convicted were not specified. The 17 men were found guilty of committing acts associated with the L and undermining the state and social peace, adopting violence and armed action in western city of Sabratha and its surroundings, the prosecutor's office added in a statement. They were accused of killing 53 people, destroying public buildings, and making dozens of people disappear. Libya descended into chaos after the uprising that toppled Muammar. What uprising that toppled him? Listen, and okay. Taking advantage of the absence of the state, The IE has established itself in several Libyan cities, making Sataya its stronghold in June 2015 before being driven out in 2016. The jihadis who were not killed in the fighting or were arrested retreated to the desert, but also to cities in western Libya. Okay, now news on Tunisia. Low turnout record in the first legislative vote since parliament dissolution. Let's listen to this report.
The Electoral Authority in Tunisia has announced a turnout of 11.22% in Saturday's parliamentary elections, very slightly up from the preliminary figure of 8.8% made public after the closure of the polls. The final turnout was announced by the president of the electoral body, Isi Farouk Bouaske, at a press conference in Tunis on Monday. The Independent Higher Instance for Elections, ISIE, recorded, after the counting of all votes, 1,025,418 voters on all polling stations for a participation rate of 11.22%. The new parliament will not be able to dismiss the president, and it will be almost impossible for it to censure the government. It will take 10 MPs to propose a law, and the president will have priority in getting his laws passed.
Elsewhere, Suriname's slavery descendants condemn Dutch governments. The largest opposition party in Suriname, NDP, has condemned the Dutch government for failing to adequately consult with descendants of enslaved people. Let's take a quick listen to this.
The largest opposition party in Suriname, NDP, has condemned the Dutch government for failing to adequately consult with the descendants of enslaved people. On Monday, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte apologized on behalf of the Dutch government for the country's role in slavery and the slave trade. We expect on July 2023 a compensation payment of 400,000 euros for everyone who was affected by slavery. The Dutch Prime Minister announced the creation of a fund to help tackle the legacy of slavery and also boost education about the issue. Many, however, feel the issue is far from closed. The way it is presented now, we don't accept the apology. First, we are going to evaluate and discuss it internally, and then give advice to the Surinamese government if they must accept the apologies. Suriname is a small South American nation, a former Dutch colony, where plantation owners generated huge profits through the use of enslaved labor.
Going back to Nigeria. Nigeria is leading producer of yam, but export less. Yams are the 5th most widely harvested crop in Nigeria, and one of the most expensive to produce. The planting and harvesting process requires significant labor input. Yam seeds are expensive, and the supply of seed is limited.
Nigeria is the leading producer of fresh yams, but despite a huge production, the West African nation is nowhere in the map of countries that export the product. Yams are the 5th most widely harvested crop in Nigeria and one of the most expensive to produce. The planting and harvesting processes require significant labor input.
Because to see yam now is not easy to see. That is why it's too expensive to plant. It's not everybody that can have money to buy yam where you can plant, because it's too cost.
Experts say deliberate action must be taken to move yam production, processing and marketing to the next level in line with international best practices. General Secretary Yam Dealers Association of Nigeria says the government should collaborate with relevant stakeholders to resuscitate yam exports from Nigeria to boost wealth creation and food security.
Because everything you're doing, if government didn't put an into it, at least it will not work. It will not sound reasonable. But at least we're begging for the government. At least they should look into things. At least help we as marketers, because we deal with farmers and we deal with the marketers. At least if they can be able to help us, at least we can be able to export more than the way they expect right now. Yam at least one of the major things that at least boost the economy. And if government can be able to help one another, at least from the farmers and the scale or the small scale businesses, at least this will work better.
The agriculture sector in Nigeria employs approximately 60% of the labor force and contributes to over 40% of the country's GDP. Michael Dibe, African News, Abuja, Nigeria.
And finally, still sticking with Nigeria, the Islamic police have arrested 19 people accused of organizing a gay wedding in the city of Kano, in conservative northern Nigeria, a spokesman said. Kano is one of the 12 northern Nigerian states that introduced Sharia law back in 2000, where Islamic courts operate alongside the state judicial system. I wonder how that works. This is not the first time the Islamic police have made arrests accusing youths of organizing a gay wedding. Each time the suspects have denied it, saying they had gathered to celebrate. Homosexuality is punishable by death under Islamic law, but no execution has ever been carried out. The 19 people, 15 women, the 19 people, 15 women, and 4 men in their 20s were arrested Sunday in the multi-purpose hall. Lawan Ibrahim Faji said that the men broke into venue where a gay couple was holding a wedding and arrested 19 men and women, including the wedding planner. The suspects, meanwhile, have been taken into custody pending further investigation, the spokesman said. In 2014, Africa's most populous country, which is very religious, passed a law against same-sex marriage. Since then, homosexuality has been punishable by 10 to 14 years in prison. The Islamic police said that Hizbah in Kano have in the past arrested several people accused of planning gay and lesbian marriages without any convictions. In 2018, the Hizbah arrested 11 young women on charges of planning a lesbian wedding. They had refuted the charge, stating that they belonged to a dance club wanting to celebrate the appointment of their club's president. Wow, okay. So that's the news trending across the continent of Africa. Let's take our call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. This is Kitios, and how are you, sir?
Mr. Kitios, I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm also very well, thank you very much. The weather is getting better for today, at least. So I feel good.
Good stuff, good stuff. What would you like to say this morning, sir?
You just said about the people, somebody going to arrest same-sex marriage, whatever occasion. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, so this happened in Nigeria, where in the northern part of Nigeria, where same-sex marriage has been outlawed. It's a crime. And that part of Nigeria also operates under the Sharia law alongside the judicial system.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just like Qatar, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Qatar. Yeah. Well, I mean, rules are rules. Different countries have different rules. I do not believe in same-sex marriage, but I don't complain because I live in a society where it is accepted, and it's not an offense. But in societies where it is an offense, that is where there's a problem, not the perpetrator. You see, so some are very religious and all that. So we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the man taking the laws into his hands also is a bit of a problem because he could do worse things to those people. And the government is a government duty to arrest this situation, not to allow other individuals to take the laws into their hands. So I would say the gentleman or the man was so wrong in getting involved. After all, it's not up to him to decide the fate of everybody in Nigeria, unless I'm wrong.
No, you're not. But Mr. Yost, I just want to draw your attention to something else, and as I have you here on the line. We're heading over to Ghana now. And one particular story, of course, I'll come back to many other stories, but this is to do with the National Cathedral. So the National Cathedral Secretariat says that it has received 225 million and not the 339 million stated by the finance minister. So Roxanne Nelson Demafepo, who is a member of parliament for South Dai, has suggested some foul play in the accounting of the money government has issued to the National Cathedral project, right? So according to him, this is what he said. And when the Minister of Finance, Ken Furiata, appeared before the ad hoc committee set up to investigate a vote of censure against him, he stated that a total expenditure on the cathedral project stands at 339 million Ghana cedis. But when officials of the National Cathedral Secretariat appeared before the Joint Committee of Parliament, they indicated that they had received 225 million Ghana cedis. And I quote Mr. Defemekbo saying that when Kenneth Ferretta appeared before the committee, the document shows that he had paid 339 million to the National Cathedral project. However, the Cathedral Secretariat says otherwise. And I just want to hear your perspective, your take on this, Mr. Yosin.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, he's the finance minister. He is in a position where he's got people working with him. And therefore, the chances of making financial blunders or mistakes or addition mistakes and all that are not there at all. So he must come again to the people of Ghana, open up his accounting record for Ghanaians themselves to avail themselves of information that we need. In fact, I would rather call the Auditor General to go and audit the Minister of Finance's records so we know the correct information, because 339 from 275 is a hell of a difference, and he cannot get away with that. You see, this is the thievery that is taking place in this administration, in this NPP administration. It's very serious. We are not talking of 1 million. We are talking of several millions of pounds or dollars or Ghana cedis. So do we have confidence in this man? I would say no, because MPP members of parliament have really asked the president to dismiss this gentleman who happens to be a relative of the president. Are they making money somewhere? Do they want the military to take over? I don't want the military to take over, because Kwame Nkrumah said, and I repeat, Kwame Nkrumah said in January 1966, when there was a military takeover in Nigeria, Nkrumah said the military can take over, but they have no mandate to rule. That's what Sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. They can take over the government, but they have no mandate to rule. Mandate to rule means that people must vote for you, elect you before you can rule. Going back to this question, NPP is a government that has been hitting Kwame Nkrumah since they overthrew him. That Nkrumah was corrupt and so many things. And from the reports that we are observing now, where do we place NPP in terms of corruption? And NPP listeners, where do we place them? It's a very sad situation.
Mr. Yosin, I mean, there's been so much allegations against the finance minister, against the current government. But is the issue due to the fact that the finance minister is related to the president, or rather due to the fact that he is, incompetent? Because it can't be both, surely.
Yeah, you see, what I'm saying is that somebody in the position of Minister of Finance, you must have perfect records, financial information. There's no chance to make a mistake. That's why I said right now there's doubt created in his office. Therefore, the only thing is to get the Auditor General and maybe even the Accountant General to come and visit his record and reproduce the balance sheet or even the cash book. Because it seems the Minister of Finance does not understand the working of the operation of the cash book itself. So we need the Accountant General to rewrite the cash book as far as the cathedral is concerned, and we get the Auditor General also to come and audit the work the Accountant General will do, so that Ghanaians will have the right information. It's very unfortunate we cannot joke with money for society. People are poor in Ghana. I wish these millions of pounds of difference will go to such people. They don't have that facility.
All right, Mr. Yosin, thank you very much for calling in. It's always a pleasure talking to you. We're going to talk about some more issues with Ghana. Please stay tuned and do call back, Mr. Yosin, because I'd like to hear your take again. I encourage you to also call back, you the listener. Yes, you, I'm talking to you. You can call in on 0778 793 9958 or send your text message as well. This is GN Radio, the breakfast show with me, Jones Awuah. We're taking a quick break, and then when we come back, we continue with our discussion. I'll bring you other news as well to do with Ghana. It's important, really important, and it's actually, well, I'll reserve my comments for now. When we come back, we will talk more about this.
Oh la la! TVC Bana Sakani Hubium. Xmas in UK, a Bayer Crabeshe. With the one by the wire this Christmas holidays, Monday 26 December. It's a Boxing Day. TVC Bana is full in love with a legendary Nana Achampon. Nana Champon with Davis Simba. Time will be 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. DJ on deck, TJTQ, hosted by The Force. Venue, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR97AL. Mr. Day, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR97AL. Ticket available at Eventbrite. For more info, please call +44 77 288 76027 or +44 75 25 24 8643. Sponsors. Don't forget, this is powered by Pay Angel, Africa's payment expert. So like I said, on the Boxing Day, it's all about a legendary Nana Achampon with the Davidson Band. Hey, Umpewe na Umpe Gang. Yeah, let's meet.
Yo, Ghana for you what English approach my moha. Ya sweedy. Yenye emwenimfo a won akwatare wo emre mu a poto kasa mu ye kasa a lawyer for entini nia no mo yemfo immigration ensem nyina enko dan wo mo Fortwell solicitors emrenimu akuku drofo so watna ha che ombebua wo ma won saka won krata na so we die don so a eyo mo kokokra e ba ni nipa sitina mu ani adwuma mu nsem bia omudi mu akotene pa omo omre di many pebia na die ni ka wo mu poni se no consultation fee.
Fortwell solicitors always puts our clients' needs first. We specialize in all UK visa applications, detention and deportation cases, student and work points-based work permit applications from both UK and abroad. Fortwell solicitors also deals with long residence and human rights applications outside the immigration rules. Don't wait till last minute. Fortwell solicitors is located at
Unit 1, ground floor, Katrina House, 58 Clarendon Road, London, N80DJ. Nearest tube station, Temple Lane and Woodgrade. Overground, Holmes Station. Buses 41 to Archway and 144 to Maswa Hill. For more info, call 0203 3257 030. Call our 24-hour line on 0754 8701 011. Website www.fortwellsolicitors.com.
Opening hours Monday to Friday 9:30 to 5:30 p.m.
Thursday be also your Milton Keynes.
Fortwell Solicitors is regulated by SRA.
Fortwell Solicitors. Akosia na wotini seni akoda ya de sese de sa di nsemu ebusia ese de me pa no yonku de si ono bisani mame hwe ya sorry preocupe na fa akora no kona kwagina yaresa adan wo wura fise ebisa wo yi efritwa kunkum ana samwa ngo me di kan echedu no nwotwe di chemu nwotwe no oho na bra na so wo ne Philippine fo ekoko woko oba bia no abe ewo humu emode to nanim se wokoko na obewu asante kotokose se wotu so a ehim enu nti sorry preocupe na tutumirika na fa akora no kokogina yarehwe esanse anoma wo hoye ye monopo ma me kosohwe abo ni papi ono na ti se yimu opene okọ na chi na wasan ababiem sese de onnam pesen kane no unim se oba bia cha adwaya na osiesie no honhum yade ti se obaidi honhum attack adayeso basabasa kodanna abrabo na sinitrase ayemhyehyɛ wo hyehyɛ na adwiregu abrabo mu adeso biada wo ba abroche hayi ya santo apenso na nso wo nko a wo sia na abu wo hyehyɛ na adwiri wo bɔpa na esane sikato wo nsɛm a na ase kai na hu se obiara no a watumi atumirika esan otwen ho da ma wo ho enye hare na wo de na nkoye se abrodwuma a wafuru bo wieye na afi obeka se wonu no ho wonu yade ya dokotafo entimi ansa no enumpo eno ye ho adwuma from ma me koso hwe wo ahoma so 079084699914 079084699914 ana 0740580734 0740580734 mame koso hwa na ya twe no a ya twe botentim
Abusiafo di dwumadi foforo FM wɔ GN Radio. Your friend of worship and inspiration every Sunday evening between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. Daniel Kweku Datson and Amanda Ofori at this Ajumedie Ebro. Make sure that you tune in. It's going to be an awesome moment of worship, God's word, conversation, gospel celebrity interviews, Bible knowledge, and what have you. And also your comments. We want to hear from you, your testimonies, what inspires you, and a lot more. Make sure say on miss our program every Sunday evening at GN Radio. Worship and inspiration. Your weekly inspiration starts from here.
Your body's not for debate. I started beat about the bush till date. To think about the way you scatter the place. I want to talk about the smile on your face. This your love now I'm your man. FDA don't stamp on them. Won't you show me how you move? Cause I've been waiting for a minute to be your boo. Cause your back to turn around though. Baby, are you already? What a man do, you go like to try me, you know I'm ready. Cause your back to turn around though. Baby, are you already? What a man do, you go like to try me, you know I'm ready. I no go shout, I no go rush, I no go pin it by force. I will sit down when I will talk. I will kneel down and wait your love. Is it because I know the salt, I know the chicken licking your paws? You must be living in my cause. I will pick you with my love, Maria, and if you've got me, you must know that I've got you, Maria, just like a tattoo, girl, I'll always have you. Oh, your back, oh, turn around, oh, baby, are you already? What a man, oh, we go like to try me, you know I'm ready. Oh, your back, oh, turn around, oh, baby, are you already?
Welcome back to GN Radio with me, Jones Awuah. It's the breakfast show. Hope you're doing good. The number you need, 0778-793-9958 is the number that you need to call in. Or to send your text message, you can send message on the same number and I'll read them up. I've seen some messages popping up. I will read them up very, very soon. But this story, right? And I think this story kind of cuts across. And it just made me pause for a second It's not anything new. It's commonsensical. But when you hear it or when you read into it, then it just makes you wonder. It makes you question certain things. It's very simple. It's not complicated. It's not complex. But it just makes you wonder. And it says, stop wasting money on funeral clothing and invest in your children's education. Chief advises parents. So the chief of Opa, a community in the Ga West municipality, Ni Ayite Okansuro II, has advised Ghanaian parents to desist from wasting money on funeral clothing and invest such a resource in their children's future, especially in the area of education. According to him, education is a tool and passport needed by every child to progress in life, whether formal or informal, and he will urge every parent to see the need to invest in them. And I quote him as saying, "Our children are the future generation, and we cannot afford to fail them. We must invest in them," the traditional rulers said. He said this in an exclusive interview on Active Radio during the second speech and the prize-giving day of Heaven of Hope Academy at Kotoku to honor some hardworking teachers and students who have contributed immensely to the progress of the school. He stressed that most children are not on the streets today because of parents preferring buying expensive clothes to attend occasions rather than Parents, he said that he stressed that most children are rather on the streets today because parents prefer buying expensive clothes or clothes to attend occasions rather than giving their children the necessary logistics which will enhance their academic aptitude. Niaite indicated that grooming a child to become a useful person in the future is a collective effort in which parents also have a huge role to play. But the cold fact is that most parents have such perverted mind that once they are paying for the child's fees, teachers should do all the work. Now, I said that this is important. I'll go a step further to look at this whole funeral procession that takes place when you lose a loved one, a loved one dies, and you can see what really takes place. Of course, I'm not. This is not an indication or I'm in no way implying that every funeral is luxurious. Not that at all. But there are some instances where the family will go and borrow money to bury their loved ones, or the cloth that you wear to a funeral. It's expensive. Some clothes are expensive, and listen, I'm not the one that knows the names of the cloth, but there are names, and they are of real significance. They are of real significance because it's almost it's a status thing, isn't it? How people can tell what you're wearing. But at the same time, your children are suffering. And I think, like my friend Kofi Ali always says that, culture is a way of surviving as opposed to culture is a way of life. Well, it's a way of life, but also a way of surviving. Just because, our forefathers, the things they did to survive, the tools they had to survive, totally different to what we have to survive today. So culture does evolve. Culture does not stay stagnant. It does evolve. And, relatively things have evolved in Ghana, in some parts of the culture, actually. But when it comes to funeral and the way that people dress and, the whole status thing, I don't think that has diminished one little bit. If anything, it has even gotten worse. So I do understand the thinking behind it. I don't think it's as straightforward as it may perceived. But you do find out that, sometimes a lot is focused more on the material things as opposed to, trying to save money to take your children to school. Education is everything. Education is everything. Education is everything. Absolutely. In the modern world, education is everything. And, this cuts across. I will not just blame it on parents, but, this is how you start, isn't it? You start as a family, then it's a tribe, then, it's spread across the wider society, then the government, and then, the list goes on and on and on and on. Whereas, a lot of children across the continent of Africa, not just Ghana alone, illiteracy is a big thing across the continent. And when you look, as the saying goes, children are the future. Children are the future. These children will one day be in a position where, they essentially will take the mantle to run respective countries. And if, on the lower level, as they're young, if they're not educated, then, what kind of leaders are we grooming to take their mantle? And sometimes when we have these conversations, I don't think we look at it properly. Of course, the wider society, we have people who are somewhat educated, but when you live in a country or in a society where there's less educated than educated ones, it's going to get to a point where there'll be anarchy. There will be anarchy, unfortunately. There will be anarchy. People will do things irrationally without giving a second thought, without thinking ahead. As Mr. Yosna always says, careful planning prevents pathetic performances. And you can see that happening. And this is what happens a lot of the time. So you tend to realize, particularly, and I'm not saying all, but from what I can see, and what I've seen with my own eyes, the quote unquote foot soldiers of political parties, where a lot of them are uneducated, and these guys just go, causing havoc and violence and everything. You can't reason with such people, and I'm not looking down, at them, looking down my nose at them, not at all. But it's a fact. These type of people, this group of people are easily swayed without, applying critical thinking when they're being urged to go and do something that to hurt another person for somebody else to gain. So it is, and you tend to realize that these guys, if they had received good education, they probably wouldn't be in that position. Or perhaps if they had some form of education, they might be able to, make an informed decision and to say that, look, we're not going down this path, or so on and so forth. It all boils down to education. Everything in life, majority of things, boils down to education, because everything you have to reason. You have to reason. When I say education, not necessarily sitting in classrooms. Of course, that can help. But you can actually educate yourself as well. I don't understand how some groups can be deemed as, the macho men, or these are, if you want something done in such a violent way, we go and get this group of people. And all parties have them. All parties have them. Within society. But it just seems like when it comes to Africa, this is prevalent. It is. And, the truth is in the pudding. You look at the level of unemployment, the level of illiteracy in respective countries, then it is telling. It is telling. And, I know that I've said this in the past. James Madison, one of the founding fathers of the federal system in America, and the reason being is he realized that democracy actually fails. It starts off good, then it fails, because when you have a group of people with the same mind, with the same belief, then they're quick to turn on, to turn democracy on its head. And he was all about trying to find ways to talk about issues to find a resolution. So the whole point of the time is to have this, federal system. And at that time, communication or traveling wasn't as swift as it is in our time. So the whole thing was before the mobs tried to get to other states to encourage them to also inflict violence or turn against the quote unquote status quo. A peace deal has been already reached, or whatever differences between each state has already been resolved. And we cannot underestimate education. I think sometimes we play it down too much. We play it down too much. I mean, you cannot expect somebody, right, who has not been educated to act accordingly. It's unheard of. And when I say education, it's not, I'm not simply saying go to a classroom and learn how to speak English. No, I'm not saying that. And these people are easily manipulated. If you're an educated man, I can assure you, if an educated man or woman, a boy or girl, I can assure you that a politician cannot easily influence you to go and commit violence. You wouldn't. It will make no sense. You keep questioning them and keep questioning their motives. And I think, if you look at it broadly, possibly this is where the chief is trying to go. All right, let me read a few of your text messages that have come in. This is from Selwa. Selwa saying, good morning, Jones. Good morning to you, Selwa. I agree, 100%. Now, I know families that will spend money to borrow clothes to go to funeral, but the next day struggle to make ends meet to even feed their children. I agree with what you're saying, that we overlook the importance of education and expect people to act right. Education is very important. Well done to the chief for making this submission. However, I wonder if people will pay attention to this, because people care about is NPP or NDC. Well, thank you for your message, Sarah. Thank you. James is saying, Jones, I totally agree with Mr. Kitty Yorson. As the finance minister, you need to make sure all your information you have at hand is right and it's a reflection of what has been happening. You cannot give one figure and then the secretariat also gives another figure. There seems to be foul play somewhere. This needs to be really checked. Okay, thank you, James. Nana Kwame, first time listening to your show. A friend of mine sent me your link. Well done on the job you're doing. It's refreshing to actually hear a Ghanaian station speaking English. Kwame, this program is not totally Ghanaian based. It's African focused and the diaspora as well. I totally agree with you on the issue of education. Education is key in life. No wonder our children, when it comes to elections, are up to no good. The lack of education. Our culture, in many ways, has hindered our progress. I mean, how can an individual spend money, huge sum of money, on funeral, to borrow cloth, but are unable to feed their family? Misplaced priorities. Good morning and good job. Thank you. This is from Stephen. Stephen says, AKA Akamepe. What a nickname, Stephen. What a nickname. Thank you for playing that clip. It goes to show how nurses are feeling and the government not wanting to sit down with the nurses and find a practical solution to the problem. My sister-in-law, who is terminally ill, came home a few days ago but had to be taken back to the hospital. We called the ambulance and we had to wait for several hours before the ambulance arrived. And then when we got to the hospital, we had to wait for more hours before a bed became available. Pay the nurses their demands and let things come back to normal. Okay, keep your thoughts and comments coming in. Ishmael is saying, Jones, Nigeria just seems too comical sometimes when you read these stories or hear these stories. How can you have a judicial system alongside Sharia law? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's either Nigerians will practice. It's either Nigerians will let their practicing democracy constitution rule, or just go on the religious level and let the Sharia law rule. Makes no sense. These guys will manipulate the system using their interpretation to manipulate the people and control the people. If they didn't catch them in an act, how on earth can they even suggest that these guys were having a gay wedding? Preposterous. Typical. It's time to highlight this, and let's stop our leaders, especially religious leaders, for using laws as they pleased. Well, continue to send your text messages in. A few messages I've got to read. We're taking a quick break, and when we come back, we continue with our discussion. This is GN Radio, the breakfast show with me, Jones Awuah. Don't go nowhere. We'll be back shortly.
La TVC Bana Sakani Hobium Xmas in UK a Bayer Crabeshe with the one by the wire this Christmas holidays Monday 26 December. It's a Boxing Day. TVC Bana is pulling up with a legendary Nana Achampon. Nana Champon with TVC Bana. A Bayer butu. Hey. Time will be 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. DJ on deck, TJTQ, hosted by The Force. Venue, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR9 7AL. Mesite, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR9 7AL. Ticket available at Eventbrite. For more info, please call +44 77 288 76027 or +44 75 25 24 8643. Sponsors. Don't forget, this is powered by Pay Angel, Africa's payment expert. So like I said, on the Boxing Day, it's all about a legendary Nana Achampon with the Davidson Band. Hey, umpewe na upedeng. Yeah, let's meet.
Yo, Ghana for you want English approach my moha. Ya sweedy. Yenya emranimfo a wen akwadare wo emranimu a poto kasemu ye kase a lawyer for entimi nianom mumyemfo ye immigration ensem nyina enko dan wo mo Fortwell solicitors emranimu akuku drofo se watna ha che ombeboa wo ma wonsa kan wo krata na se wedi edronso a eyom kokokra eba ne nipa sitenemu ani adwumamu nsembia omudim akotene pa omu wo mre di mani pebia na de enika wo mumpo ne se no consultation fee.
Fortwell solicitors always puts our clients' needs first. We specialize in all UK visa applications, detention and deportation cases, student and work points-based work permit applications from both UK and abroad. Fortwell solicitors also deals with long residence and human rights applications outside the immigration rules. Don't wait till last minute. Fortwell solicitors is located at
Unit 1, ground floor, Katrina House, 58 Clarendon Road, London, N80DJ. Nearest tube station, Tempark Lane and Wood Green. Overground, Hornsey Station. Buses 41 to Archway and 144 to Maswa Hill. For more info, call 0203 3257 030. Call our 24-hour line on 0754 8701 011. Website www.fortwellsolicitors.com.
Opening hours Monday to Friday 9:30 to 5:30 p.m.
Thursday Beyonce Young Milton Keynes.
Fortwell Solicitors is regulated by SRA.
Fortwell Solicitors.
Become a successful entrepreneur with Jackie and her professional team. Become a successful entrepreneur. Anase Base. Wami a team of professional teachers of economics, marketing, ninga omoyebi. So pesa will transform your life from a youth graduate and a school leaver. Nasa pesa wo ye entrepreneur. Mon contacti Base. Entrepreneur no che say obia ebia wa wo business. Ebia wo ye che. But wo pesa wo ye no in a professional way. To say Oprah Winfrey anaya papa Kwame Despite. Base betmama sa diano abim. One your experts ewo coaching and a mentoring. And as wo pesa wo start wa business base for better how wo besi expand your business and as existing customer base. Base provides support in business plans, step-by-step finance applications and marketing strategies. Base or become a successful entrepreneur also provide entrepreneurship skills through vision and determination. Some more per free consultation for a Base ewo
073 99 867 417. I repeat, 073 99 867 417.
And also one more email address info@becomeasuccess.co.uk. Website www.becomeasuccess.co.uk. Mokokwa mobetimi make bookings for an appointment. Base and I said become a successful entrepreneur. Let's turn your vision into a reality.
Oh la la! Davidson Bana Sakani Hobium. Xmas in UK, a Bayer Crabeshe. With the one by the wire Uhuo. This Christmas holidays, Monday 26 December. It's a Boxing Day. Davidson Bana is pulling up with a legendary Nana Achampon. Nana Champon with Davidson Bana. A Bayer Butu. Hey. Time will be 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. DJ on deck, TJTQ, hosted by The Force. Venue, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR9 7AL. Mesite, Oasis Academy, Shelley Park, Shelley Road, Croydon, CR9 7AL. Ticket available at Eventbrite. For more info, please call +44 77 288 76027 or +44 75 25 24 8643. Sponsors. Don't forget, this is powered by Pay Angel, Africa's payment expert. So like I said, on the Boxing Day, it's all about a legendary Nana Achampon with the Davidson Band. Hey, umpewe na upe gang. Yeah, let's meet.
Akosia na mutini seni akode ya de sese de sa dinsemu ebusua ese de amepa no yonku da si wono usani mame hwe ya sorry prekupe na fa akora no kona kwagina yaresa adan wura fise ebisa wo yi efritwa kunkum ana samuel ngo me di kan etredu no nwotwe di chemu nwotwe no eho na bra na so wo ne Philippine for ekokon wokọ oba bia no aben ewo humu emode to nanim se wokokon na obewu asante kotokose se wotu so a ehimu enu nti sorry prekupe na tutumirika na fa akora no kwagina yarehwe esanse anoma wo hoye ye monopo maame koso hwe aboa ni papi wonu ma ti se yimu opeme okọ nachi na wasan ababiem sese de onnam posene kane no unim se oba bia cha adwaye na osiesie no honhumu yade ti se obaidi honhumu attack adayeso basabasa kodanna abrabo na sinitrase ayemhyehye wo hyehye na adwiregu abrabo mu adeso biada wo ba abrochire hayi ya santo apenso na nso wo nko a wosia na abu wo hyehye na adwire wo bopa na esane sikato wo nsam a na ase kai na hunu se obiara nu a watumi atumirika esan otwen ho da ma wo ho enye hare na wo de na ankoye se abrodwuma a wofrobo wieye na afi obeka se wonu no ho wonu yade ya dokotafo entimi ansa no enumpo eno ye ho adwuma from mame koso hwe wo ahoma so 0790846991 0790846991 ana 0740580734 0740580734 mame koso hwe ana ye twere no a ye twere botantim
Jimmy so, me frawa.
Welcome back to the program. It's GN Radio, the breakfast show with me, Jones Awuah. We're streaming live on Facebook, by the way. Go onto our page, GN Radio UK, on Facebook and also on YouTube. We're streaming live on both platforms. Get involved with our discussions that we're having here this morning. Now, I just want to bring your attention. Another story. This is to do still with Ghana. Continue to send your messages, okay, on other subjects that we've discussed, other topics that we've discussed so far. So from the strikes to the news updates that we brought you across the continent of Africa and what's happening in Ghana right now. And the number you need, once again, 0778-793-9958. This is the number that you need to call in or to send your text messages. Now, the Ministry of Health has described as alarming the number of falsified, substandard, and unregistered drugs in the country. Now, this is Ghana, by the way. It said there was enough evidence and fact to support the position that the country had problems with fake and substandard medicines, as well as unregistered pharmaceutical products. It said from a legitimate medicine supply chain, a brand of Urotonic, a category of medication used to prevent bleeding after mothers had delivered, was discovered to be substandard. And the director of pharmacy at the MOH, Dr. Jocelyn Na Kokoi Aziz, who disclosed this in Accra yesterday, said some of the cases of maternal mortality recorded in the country could be due to substandard Otironics in circulation. She goes on to say, can you imagine a mother going into labor and unfortunately having issues of bleeding, and the main drug that can be used to stop the bleeding is substandard? What this means is that you are going to lose the mother, even though the entire health team will be doing the right thing by prescribing the right uteronics, I beg your pardon, right, by prescribing the right medication, but for the simple reason that the medication is substandard, falsified, or unregistered, it will make all efforts ineffective, she said. Now, I think this was Gambia, wasn't it? When the cough syrup, which was produced in India, and then found its way to the Gambia and many African countries, West African countries in particular, which killed, I think was it between 30 babies or more, and then which brought about a discussion of how medicines find itself across the continent of Africa. Now, I've said this, right, because I was also a victim, not, I wouldn't really talk about the medication I was prescribed, but it was probably down to going to a hospital that, the treatment was substandard, I would say that, but not the medication. I didn't have any medications that was prescribed to me that, were substandard. I just think I was wrongly diagnosed. So I think we can park that to the side. That was a different story altogether. However, if it's to do with health, it is interlinked, isn't it? Because once you could be prescribed the right medication, but the medication you're being prescribed is a fake drug that you're being prescribed. And how these products find its way into the market, I don't know, because of course you'll be looking at the Food and Drugs Authority to do their job. But either way, no matter how tight security is, illegal substances will always find their way into the market. So what I do remember is when I was going through my little episodes in Ghana back in 2019. When I went to the the pharmacy, and then I wanted the drug. So I would, whatever I was prescribed, what I would do is I would go online And what you tend to find out is sometimes it could be the same medication that were being prescribed here, but they're just different names. And there's some categories that, can only be prescribed, some medicines that falls into some categories that under that category, this medication can only be prescribed from the counter. So it's only the doctor that can prescribe this medication. Whereas you can get it, in Ghana. You can go to a pharmacy and, in Ghana, as they call it, drugstore, and then somebody can give you that medication. So what happened was when I came here, the medication that I was given, because when I came here, I had to go to the hospital, all right? And then, checking the medication I was, that I was given whilst I was out there. And of course, I was wrongly diagnosed, so they gave me the wrong medication, right? But, I remember the doctor saying to me that, okay, so this is the medication they gave you. Obviously, you were wrongly diagnosed. This is what they thought was the problem. However, this medication does something completely different. And we have the same medication here, but in this country, it's a different name. But it does the same thing. So we get this across the continent. You get this in Africa. Of course, they do the same thing. It's manufactured by different companies and so on and so forth. But that does not excuse the level at which these medications find its way onto into the market. It beggars belief. It beggars belief. And, I'm not... It's easy to blame, governments and everything. But at some point, we need to look ourselves in the mirror. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror. Because these medications don't just appear from nowhere. Somebody somewhere is enabling this happening. And it's a lucrative business. Lucrative business, but you're killing people at the end of it. Can you imagine a mother going to give birth and this medication that is supposed to help reduce the mother bleeding does absolutely nothing? And this time, paramedics or nurses and doctors are actually doing the right thing here to support the individual giving birth. Then in the end, the mother dies. Now, I'm not saying this is only peculiar to, to Africa, but I know it's easy to blame the government. At the same time, the buck stops with the government. And us as a people, as individuals. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because, you talk about one thing, then you realize you have to talk about another thing, then you realize, so it just keeps going and keep going and keep going. But this has to be an initiative driven by the government, unfortunately. The Food and Drugs Authority have to be tighter. Has to be. Absolutely. Has to be. You can't just relax the rules or the laws and the regulations and these products find themselves in the country. The whole point is to reduce it, right? It's to mitigate the level of these falsified medication finding their way into your country because they're very dangerous and harmful. Particularly, mothers giving births and children and the elderly. To everyone, but particularly those who fall in that group. And of course, that case that happened in Gambia, that's it. The last time I heard, the Gambian government said that they will look into this and find, whoever was behind this. I don't know how far that's gone. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's down to me for not digging deeper to find out exactly what's happening. But I'm sure if anything had come to light, you would know. I would know. I would know. And sometimes we don't. And I hate the comparison when we do this. In this country, they don't do this but there's some fundamentals that cannot be breached. How falsified drugs find its way. How? Or was somebody in an aeroplane or helicopter and just dropped it into the... Obviously not. Oh gosh. Right. And then in other stories, Aisha Huang. Remember the infamous name Aisha, the woman behind the illegal mining in Ghana, Galamsey. And now this is a story which was published by Ghana Web, saying that a witness in an ongoing case of the Chinese national in Ghana, Aisha Wang, who is standing trial on charges of undertaking mining operations without a license, has said that the activities of the woman's company led to the destruction of the River Ofin. A River Ofin, that's Ofin goes across, where I'm from. The witness, Timothy Teyi Ali, a farmer at Sakumu, in the Amansi Central District of the Ashanti region, who is the fifth to appear before the court so far, made this known through a written statement read on his behalf in court. He added that the mining activities of Aisha also led to the destruction of other water bodies in the Ashanti region. The witness also went on to say that in 2017, he was contacted by one James Ogbe over his interest in purchasing land to mine gold. He added that after an assessment of which he had to offer, they came to an agreement of 28,000 Ghana cedis as the final charge. He continued that he was then informed by Ogbe that the accused Aisha was on that day elsewhere, and for which reason she could not be present with him. Timothy added that although they had agreements for Mr. Ogbe to make full payments before the land was released to him, the 4-acre farmland was cleared the following morning. Wow. Upon confronting him, Timothy, through his statement, said that the Director of Public Prosecutions, Yvonne Atokra Obuabisa, said that Ogbe then paid him 3,000 Ghana cedis, 4,000 Ghana cedis, and 5,000 Ghana cedis as part payment for the land that had already been cleared. The accused person continued to work on the land without fully paying me until she was arrested for illegal mining, the statement said. And like I said, the Chinese ambassador to Ghana once said that, look, you guys keep blaming Chinese people coming here to destroy your water bodies, but they've been aided by local people. A Chinese man could not just land at Kotoka International Airport and say, hey, I'm Chinese and I'm looking for somewhere to do illegal mining. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, I will follow. Listen, I'm following this particular story with a keen eye, with a keen interest to see how this unfolds. And, for when Otumfuo is getting involved, the president has always been involved. Stakeholders have all been involved. Then, at some point, somebody has to be held accountable. And in as much as people talk about foreigners coming to Ghana, talking about Chinese people coming to Ghana and practicing illegal mining and so on and so forth, I think that this woman is just being used as a scapegoat, to be honest with you. And this is just my personal opinion, all right? This is just my personal opinion. Why? Because it's easier to use a foreigner to try and curtail a problem. And so, whereas some people are talking about the chiefs, some people are blaming some big men, right? Where are these big men and chiefs? But because it's a foreigner, No. A foreigner cannot come here and do this on our land. Can you go over to their land and do the same thing? It's easier to point fingers at the foreigner. Much easier. Much easier, because you're thinking, how dare you come to our land? But on the flip side, people who ought to know better might be doing even worse. Who are Ghanaians might be doing worse. Who are Africans might be doing worse. And of course, she will be used as a scapegoat. They will throw everything at her. They will throw the book at her, whilst others go scot-free. And that is the problem. All right, let's take a few messages coming in. This is from Alex. Alex is saying, Jones, this issue of Galamsey, I've said this so many times. Inasmuch as what this Chinese woman did was wrong, I believe that there are more bigger fishes to fry. It's unfortunate that we rather concentrate on this woman simply because she's a foreigner. If we really want to go deeper, this issue of Galamsey has been there a long time before this woman came to the country. So why are we all fixated on this particular woman? Yes, let the Lord deal with this woman, but the Lord should also go after the big men and women in Ghanaian society who are also involved in illegal mining. And I totally agree with you. Taking the words out of my mouth, really, Alex, this morning. I totally agree. I think in as much as we all applaud the the judiciary system and the police and the investigation team for being able to arrest this woman, I think this is just a drop of water in the ocean. And they will keep propagating this. She's famous in Ghana now. This name, everybody knows this name. But the real corporates are still doing what they're doing. And it's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing here. I mean, how can you have a country where the indigenous are, majority, right? And then when things are going wrong, now you might think that, Jones, you're contradicting yourself. And it's not the fact that I'm contradicting myself or what I'm saying is, paradoxical or anything. No, I don't think so. But I think if you're not able to, as a human being, right? My take is if you're not able to change your views, and my views have not changed, by the way, or expand on your initial theory, then, it will be difficult to try and see things for what they are, I believe, right? If things that are happening in the country, and we had the same issue here with Brexit, right? So, yes, some foreigners might commit crimes. Some foreigners might be working in some sectors. But you cannot have a country with indigenous being, the largest population in the country, and then all of a sudden blame every bad thing happening in the country on a minority who make up less than 1% of the population. And so you tend to realize it's a narrative that's been pushed to kind of change our beliefs or to really look deeper at the problem here and give the leaders easy ride. Back in the day, we what did we have them? What did we have? Politicians. I've forgotten the term. It will come to me. So the problem is we're facing the problem, all right, and then we're being told, hey, by the way, look here. This is the problem, not here. Because if we look too close to this part, this side, we might get to the root of the problem. But no. How many Chinese people are in Ghana? compared to the indigenous people, right? But somehow, and when you have a conversation, you have conversations, with our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow Ghanaians. When you talk about illegal mining, the Galamsey, this is what people say. Now, Chinese have come to our country to do this and to do that. But the bigger problem, the bigger picture, it's not necessarily what the Chinese man or woman is doing there. It's what our own people, what we're doing. Like I said with Brexit, we blamed everything on the foreigner. You blamed everything on foreigners, and foreigners make up less than 1%, or I think 1.1% of the country's population. Now, how does that even work? How does that even make sense? Oh, they come to take our jobs. Are you telling me what jobs? So foreigners have taken all jobs. Foreigners are undercutting us. You see what the problem is? And it's the same thing we're seeing right now with this Galamsey issue. It's the same thing, which is perpetrated by the media as well and politicians. So every time you see this Aisha woman, you see the hair in cuffs, her looking miserable. Listen, I'm not in no way supporting what she's done. But we have to be honest here. We have to look at both sides to be able to come to, to make an informed decision and to see what is really happening here. So are you telling me that upon all the illegal activities when it comes to mining in Ghana, the police have only managed to arrest one individual? One individual who happens to be a foreigner. Just think about this for a second, will you? Just one individual. Every time we keep talking about Galamsey and it's killing our water bodies, destroying the ecosystem and so on and so forth. And we arrest one individual and we pin everything on this individual. It's time we wake up to smell the coffee. We've been duped. We have been duped to suggest that these are the people causing the problems back home, whilst the ones committing the real problems, the endemic situation that we're facing in the mining sector, are just walking around. Because they happen to be a foreigner, it's easy to make crime stick against them when they've been caught. It's much easier. Oh, she's Chinese. Oh, Chinese people, this is what they're doing. Chinese people, this is what they're doing. Chinese people, this is what they do. They're wicked people. They do this, they do that, they do. I mean, these are some of the things that people say, which is totally wrong. Totally wrong. And I'll go back to the Chinese ambassador, who also said, which I think was really, really clever of him. Stop blaming Chinese people in Ghana, because Chinese people don't know where these, where to go and mine. They don't know. Local people are aiding them, enabling them to be able to do this. Even though it is illegal, yes, it's illegal, but local people are aiding them to do this. So let's not spend too much energy, too much time waiting for her to be dealt by the law, whilst, the kingpins, the big dogs are still going about their business. It's good she's been arrested, but the fight against Galamsey should not begin and end with Aisha Hong. It shouldn't. And at the minute, it looks like this is what's happening. So every story about Galamsey, it's about her. Every story that I've read so far in the past few months is about her, Aisha. It's about her. How is this possible? How are we saying that she has connections across the entire regions in Ghana? Or she runs the illegal mining in the whole of the country. People went on a rampage burning excavators while some people were taking excavators for themselves. This is message from Ernest. Ernest is gone. Good morning to you, Jones. I can feel your frustration and well done. Again, you've been able to articulate this very, very well. And I didn't look at it from that side, but it makes so much sense. As a Ghanaian, as I'm sitting here, I can't wait for her to be prosecuted. But what you're saying makes so much sense. Good morning. Good show as always. Thank you, Ernest. This is from Abna. Mami Abna. Mami Abna is saying, Jones, the issue of Galamsey, you said it before, and I'm saying it. Otumfo has said it. The chiefs are involved. We've heard that big men in Ghana are also involved, but we don't get to see or find out who these men are. It's a shame. Yes, the Chinese woman needs to be dealt with, but I don't think everything will be resolved no matter what happens with this case. I don't think so. I really, really don't think so. I don't think so. And I think, as a society, it's so easy. Who was it? I think it was my mom that said that. I can't remember the proverb. As in, if you're a visitor and you visit another village, should something go wrong, you're the first person that people will look at. I don't know whether I've got the translation correctly here. In this instance, yes, Aisha, what she did was criminal. It was wrong. She's been arrested, but why so much coverage on this particular woman? I'm asking. And I'm in the media. I'm in the business myself. Why so much coverage? Why so much coverage? The reason why I spoke about it earlier, and this is the bit where I might sound a bit like I'm contradicting myself. It wasn't, I don't know, maybe subconsciously, and I must be honest here, maybe subconsciously I was also under the illusion or under the illusion that, she ought to be arrested and dealt with and so on and so forth. So what we tend to do is we blame all the problem on this particular person. But when you look deeper into the situation, you realize that this is not just one person's doing. And we cannot just talk about this and, it begins and ends with this particular woman. No, it is not true at all. So I've got a message, Positive Change Medina. From Positive Change Medina. How come the government is telling us today Ghana is broke after getting almost $12 billion from all the Euro bonds raised from 2018 to 2021? How come we are broke? Where is the 12 billion IMF free cash? Where is the 10 million Ghana cedis Bank of Ghana cash? What of the first $430 million from the World Bank? What a clueless government we have. Well, good questions there, because I think we spoke about this yesterday, or we highlighted it, the President Mahama also making his comments about the state of affairs, the state of the economy in Ghana right now. All these issues, I promise you, sometime next week we will get the political figureheads on the show to talk about this, because this is a concerning issues for Ghanaians. So don't worry at all. Plus, we will have our economists joining us as well to talk about this, right? To talk about this particular thing. And, finally, before I sign off, tell me, I just want to know, why, and it's simple, right? It's simple, but there must be a more deeper understanding behind this. And I want to know, I want to find out from you. Why is it so difficult for Ghanaians to move away from NDC or NPP? Why? Why is it so difficult? You know, people keep saying that there's no third force. There is a third force. There's the PPP. But why? Why is it so difficult? I want to understand. I have an idea. But why? Why is it so difficult? We can't claim to be, or can we? We can't claim, well, to be a secular state, right? And living in the modern world. But yet we find it difficult, so difficult, to break away from these two political parties. I don't understand. Maybe you could help me understand. I don't get it. Why is it so difficult? Why? Why? That does it mean you're a traitor to your tribe? Is it a tribal thing? Is it a religious thing? Why? You know, I don't think it's as easy. I think it's quite complex, I believe. Because imagine this, right? Imagine this. Every time you walk under a tree, a coconut falls and hits you on your head. Every time you walk under another tree, something else falls, a mango falls and hits you on your head. But year in, year out, every single day, you choose to walk under the same trees. Why is it so difficult to say, hey, do you know what? I've had enough of getting knocked on my head. Let me take another path. Or let me find another path. Why? I don't understand. I just don't. I don't get it. Am I heading into an uncharted territory? I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. You've seen that things are not working. So you vote for change. Somebody else comes in. People are also saying that things are not working. So you want to vote for change. So you went from getting knocked on your head, walking under a tree, that coconut keep falling and hitting your head, to going back to the one that the rock, somebody always throws a rock and hits you on your head. Then you sit down, you scratch your head. This is painful. Okay, let me go back to this side. And you get even a bigger rock thrown at you. I don't understand. So clearly, at some point, so what I'm trying to get at here is, what would it take for people to actually realize and say that, you know what? We've been going through this path long enough and we've suffered the consequences long enough. Maybe it's time to look for other avenues, other channels, to see if we can walk freely without getting knocked on the head. Or at least this path, you can tell that there's a bump on the road, so I can choose to maneuver or hop over this bump. Why? I don't get it. I seriously don't get it. I seriously don't get it. Zero 778-793-9958 is the number you need to text in. Adra has texted in. Saying, I'm listening to you attentively, Jones. Inasmuch as the question you've posed sounds simple, it's quite complex if you look at the settings across Ghana. Everything has to do with tribe. People are born into these parties, and because of that, they refuse to look beyond the petty issues? The answer is simple. It's tribe. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Edge. Of course, I knew, that this is an element. It's a factor. It's definitely a factor. Again, on this whole tribal thing, I understand. But now there are more people into marriages than anything else. Of course, I also know that people do marry where one is party A and one is party B. Of course, that's fine. But then the problem is, if you can put aside your cultural or your traditional differences or tribal differences and come together to form a union, then what is stopping you from putting aside your political affiliation and also looking at an alternative? If you're unhappy, there's something fundamentally wrong here. Really, really is. Something fundamentally wrong here. It's almost as if we can change our minds about everything, but when it comes to this particular issue, we cannot. Now, Nigeria's election is next year in February. And again, I'm watching, really, really watching it with a close eye. And you realize that the change that will take place will be caused by the youth. So if first generation hold an entrenched position, why or how come the youth have also followed the same path? Is it education? Is it lack of education? Is it lack of understanding of politics? Is it lack of understanding what it means to vote? Is it lack of understanding of the power of an individual? Or is it lack of emphasis on knowing the worth of an individual vote? I don't know. It's just, gosh, I don't know, because we have to. There comes a point in time where you just have to say, listen, enough is enough. Enough is enough. When you go on social media, and you read comments, sometimes I just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. Now, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but you can just see how entrenched some people are. Even when things are going wrong, they're saying that things are going right. And I mean, I understand politics. I do understand politics. I don't think I know all of it, everything, but one thing I've noticed with politics is history repeats itself with politics. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to politics. Nothing new. But how an individual blessed with a mind that can easily influence or manipulate individuals is beyond me. It's beyond me. I would like to live in a society where we hold our leaders accountable. When I say we, I mean, if for instance you're in favor of party A, but you hold that leader accountable. Not just leave it to opposition. Of course, it's the opposition's job. But parliament in all African countries, I would say, needs to be a place where everybody is represented. So you don't have a system where one particular party has, 100% majority or 70% majority. And I think we need to this question is just when was it? I think in 2017 when I was in Ghana, I did an interview with some young people. No, I think it was in 2017. It was before the 2020 election, right? And we were talking about elections because I wanted to know how young people think when it comes to politics. And the first thing they would tell you is, me, I don't like getting involved in politics. But I was able to change their position on that for us to have this conversation. And then you tend to find out that these young people are really frustrated. At the end of the day, they like both parties. Both parties are evil. It's just going with the lesser evil. And my question is, isn't there an alternative? And they're like, yeah, there is an alternative, but the alternative is not, their whole thing is if I give my vote to the alternative, it's not going to matter anyway because they're not going to win power. And I'm like, guys, come on. You need reps in parliament. This is from Stacy. Stacy is saying, good morning, Jones. Just like a previous person that texted, it's refreshing to hear a station talking about African issues, speaking in English in the community. I'm half Ghanaian, half Nigerian. I spend a lot of my time in Ghana. And I believe that you've more or less answered the question. When it comes to Africa, we all know what happens during election times. Most people don't vote on policies, but vote along tribal lines. I like your analogy, but it seems for some reason we just like knocking our heads against the wall. Good morning to you, and you've got a new listener. Thank you, and welcome on board. Thank you very much, Stacy. Thank you for your text message. Let that sink in. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. Okay, so maybe we know the why. What about the how? How to get people to be able to look for an alternative. Now, I'm not saying everybody should, leave these parties and then all of a sudden everybody rush to one party. But there needs to be a balance. And once there's a breakthrough, you realize that things will change, the parliament will become more effective, and people will be held to account. Thank you very much for staying tuned. This is GN Radio, the breakfast show with me, James. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Thank you for your text messages, and as always, we'll read them out. I think this is our last show before Christmas. So whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you enjoy yourself. Enjoy your Christmas. Have fun. Don't drink too much. Hey, well, Christmas comes once a year. So, if you want to drink, then by all means, go ahead and drink. Drink responsibly, though. I will add, drink responsibly. Don't go and do anything that you might need to be taken to the hospital because you know what's happening, right? And especially Christmas days, it's not a joke. Thank you very much for staying tuned.